Hello and welcome back to the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods. So going to do a little bit different video today. MK Outdoors 96 ask about my VW Golf. So if you go back early on, I have a few videos where I kind of do some stuff, a couple shorts, change tires, stuff like that. And so they were asking about the pros and cons, and kind of just do a review of this car. So to kind of start, so this is a 2017 MK7 Golf R. It is the DSG version, so it's an automatic transmission with their dual clutch transmission. At the time, whenever I bought this car, so I went and placed the order for it in May of 2016, received it, and took delivery October of 2016. So it took several months to get it in stock. This is one of the few cars that's still made in Wolfsburg, Germany. So kind of a little bit of background on kind of where I'm coming from as far as cars go, and kind of, a lot of different things are perspective, on either what you're used to or things like that. So before I had this car, I had a 2010 MK6 VW Golf, just the base model. So I drove it back and forth. I commuted to school, so drove it back and forth. It's got almost 200,000 miles on it, and it's got the 2.5 liter 5-cylinder engine in it. So a little bit different than the one that's in this car. So just kind of for a comparison of mileage and wear and tear and all that, it is a different engine. So it's not a direct comparison, but it's a vehicle that has 200,000 miles on it and is still running well. Over 100,000 not too long ago. With COVID and everything, it really kind of extended the life of my car. I drive 100 miles round trip approximately to drive to work whenever I have to go into the office. So so that's kind of gives you an idea. Down here in southern Indiana, mostly highway driving with some back roads, not a whole lot, and almost no interstate driving unless you're going someplace. So it's kind of a little bit of background, a little bit of where I'm coming from as far as what my perspective is from coming from that car, and things like that. Kind of go through kind of the pros, cons, and things that I wouldn't consider pros or cons, and more just things to be aware of. So the reason I ended up with this car is I really like my VW Golf. I wanted something a little bit quicker, so I had been looking at the GTIs. I was looking at the Autobahn version, so kind of the highest tier that you could get in the GTI, and started looking, and it has basically the same engine, just not tuned the same, and it's missing the all-wheel drive, which this car does have. As much as the all-wheel drive is nice for performance, we do end up with some snow, and particularly here in southern Indiana, end up with a lot more of the ice mix, which it can be a lot harder to drive in. So at the time, so keep in mind that I was buying this car in 2017. There wasn't that much price difference between the Golf R and the GTI Autobahn. So for the little bit, you get a little bit more engine that's tuned, and you get the all-wheel drive, which was very appealing. Start with the cons. So I don't have a whole lot. There's kind of two that stick out in mind. First one is if you work on your own car, which I do all the maintenance for it. Anything that goes wrong, I take care of. So if you do your own maintenance, the likelihood of being able to just run up to the pick your auto parts store, O'Reilly, AutoZone, Napa, Advanced Auto, the chances of them having the part you need are very low. For whatever it's worth, I am pretty particular about having either the OEM part or the OEM equivalent. So a lot of parts are like VW Audi branded, but are actually Bosch parts. So you can buy the Bosch part that doesn't have the VW stamp on it, but you can get a little bit cheaper. So I do that. I think it's one of those things that, I plan, my whole philosophy on a car is I bought a new car and I want to keep it for a long time. So by putting OEM stuff back in it, I feel like, it'll last longer and will be better overall. So that's kind of my philosophy. So there's no just running to the parts store and picking up a part if something breaks tomorrow. So there are lots of resources out there. Shop DAP or Deutsche Auto Parts. So shopdap.com is one of the places that I buy parts, and then ECS Tuning is the other one. They both have a very good selection of parts and have worked with both of their customer services to get parts and kind of shop between the two depending on price and availability to get parts for it. So with that said, obviously it's online stuff. One of them's in Ohio, the other one's in North Carolina. So it takes a couple days to get parts. Disadvantage to owning a car like this. The other one, and it's kind of one of those things, it's kind of the same across all small cars, I guess you could say. But this one in particular is you have very low ground clearance. So I could actually measure it, but there's information out there. This does sit just a little bit lower than the GTI does. So it is similar, but does sit lower. So just one thing to think about: if you have like normal ramps, don't work. The car sits low enough. So like if you've seen videos, or I don't know if I've done too much with that, but I actually have just like 6 inches of a 2x6 that I've attached to the bottom of the ramp so that it kind of picks you up that little bit to then drive onto like the normal Rhino ramps or something like that. So another thing to kind of just be cognizant of, to think about is, things like that. It does sit low enough that you have some of those issues. Pros, I guess you could say, is it is all-wheel drive. So if you live in a climate where, you have some snow, mix, ice, it does work fairly well. It has the Hildirix system in it. So basically it's monitoring the ABS if it senses wheel spin. There is a clutch and a pack back there that engages and will provide some power to the back. From all my experiences, it's worked well. I've never gotten stuck. Whereas in my 2010 Golf, there's a hill coming up to the house here and to the homestead, and I've had to park at the bottom of that hill and plow my way out to get up. So I've never had to do that with this car. So one of the reasons that most people get a Golf R is for the speed. So from the factory, it does have 292 horsepower. It's a small little 4-cylinder, 2-liter turbocharged engine. And it will do 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds. So it's a blast. It's entertaining. It corners really well. Along with the Hildirix, it does some vectoring stuff in the back. Again, not as advanced as the new MK8s that are currently out, but on the MK7, it does have some of that. So basically, it will overdrive a wheel to help you through a corner. So it does have some of that technology in it as well. It is very entertaining to drive. It feels very sturdy, and and enjoy driving it. And like I said, it's my daily driver to and from work. So, it's not something that I'm just driving around on the weekends and things like that. It's, it's what I drive back and forth every day. So, let's see here. So I do have, since this is my first car, I do have the sticker here for it. So I'll kind of go through some of the stuff. One of the things with the Golf R in particular is there's not a whole lot of options in the United States. No sunroof available. That's not a deal breaker for me. I don't find it as a need. It's one more thing to leak, all that, so that doesn't bother me. Limited color selection, so you have like tornado red and a couple of exclusive colors to the Golf R line, but again, not a big deal. And then, like, whenever I bought this in 2017, I think I had two options. So I could pick whether or not, or pick what color the car was, and then pick whether or not it had a manual or automatic transmission. Because I knew it was going to be a daily driver, I went ahead and went with the automatic. Manuals are very entertaining, but the day in, day out of driving it isn't as much fun. So that's why I went that direction. It does have a DCC, so in the VW world, that is the dynamic chassis control. So basically what that means is it has things, the steering wheel, it has some stuff in there that it will adjust how heavy the steering feels, essentially. So in sport mode, it's heavier than if in comfort mode. It does have adaptive cruise control, so it varies how aggressive that is depending on whether you're on comfort, normal, or kind of suspension that will change stiffness based on what you're in. So that is one thing, and that it has. So, all those things are pros for me. On the fuel mileage, so the sticker says 25 as the average, so it's 2330. Like I mentioned before, it's almost all highway driving for me, so I can consistently get 30 or above. So that's not a real big issue for me. A lot of people I've talked to, this small car, it should get better gas mileage. Well, it's one of those trade-offs. It's more of a performance car, if you will. To get some of that, you don't have as good a fuel mileage, which, I'm fine with. That's, again, not one of those deal breakers for me. So if you plan on maintaining your own car, there's kind of a couple things to know. So I mentioned the con of, not having immediate access to parts. So you do have to order stuff online. But I haven't had too much issue with that. A lot of the maintenance stuff you can plan, ahead of time, get stuff and everything. And, I've had two instances where, I had emergency things that happened to where, the car was down for a period of time. And I'll get into those here in just a bit. But, so on the maintenance side of life, there's a couple things. You really need to invest in some kind of scan tool. So, you have the little scanner, you have the conventional scanners out there that will read, what your check engine light is. For several things in maintenance, so like for example, this has a electronic parking brake. So to do the rear brakes on this car, you actually have to send a command that will retract those brakes so that you can change the pads out. one of those things, I don't see that as a con. That's just how the car is. Some people, that may be a con, you know, that you have to have that extra thing and you can't just do it. It's changed several times, so, you know, I don't know what the current thing is, but not long into having my car, this is an OBD11. Plugs into the OBD spot of your car, has an app, and connects via Bluetooth, and you have complete access to the ECU of your vehicle. Really cool. You can activate, inactivate, change coding. I'll go over some of the mods I've done to my car. Some of those involve this. So it gives you complete control of the car. Has things you can run to do tests. Very handy tool. Word of warning with this, you can mess up your car. If you change the coding, so it has bits and everything, if you change one of the codes and don't know what it was originally set at, you can mess it up to where your car won't run. So this is the, you know, very easy tool to use. Other things out there like Rostec is the other big name one that does a lot. It does more than this can, but this covers most of it. But it's software that is hundreds of dollars. This, I think I maybe have a total of $100 in. Maybe, and they have different tiers now, so you just have to look up and see what all is there. So, so you really need something like this to work on it. You know, it's not just for the programming aspect, but there are certain things that you have to run, like on the brakes. The other thing that this is useful for is you can see all the live telemetry of the car. So like to do the helidex, transmission, I feel like there's something else, but I know those two for sure. To check the fluid level, the temperature of those fluids are supposed to be at a certain level. Well, with this, you can go to live data, look and see, you know, get the temperature into range, and then check the fluid. So by having something like this, you can easily do that. Now, it doesn't have to be something like that. SHOWA makes a kind of more conventional scanner. It does do most of what that can. The app is just very handy because it's constantly updated, and it's a car made in Germany, so a lot of the stuff is in German. So in the app, they convert a lot of it to English so that people understand to hear what it is. So so that is one advantage, whereas that SHOWA thing, you're just looking at more like bits and things like that, so it's a lot easier to mess up and not as user-friendly. But for reading, just check engine lights, stuff like that, it's very, very handy. The other thing that the OBD11 does is, you know, I mentioned the live data, so you can help diagnose your car. So one of the two things I've had issues with that were emergencies is I had a wheel speed sensor go out. Didn't know at the time that's what it was. You just get the Christmas tree of lights come up on your car. Every light, every sensor relies on that. So everything just started lighting up in the car, basically. Every light on the dash. So I was able to hook up the OBD11, do a scan, found online first that, you know, it's most likely that. But to check it, you can see the data coming from that wheel speed sensor. So when I had it hooked up, was looking at that data, I should see all four wheels. I see that wheel 1 through 3 are showing that we're going 15 kilometers per hour, and because everything's in metric, and wheel number 4 is not moving. So that's throwing all kinds of errors because everything relies on that data coming back. So I was able to buy that sensor online and get it installed. So while I'm kind of talking about that, the other issue I had, which is a common issue across all MK7 vehicles, whether it's a GTI, Golf R, what have you, is um, the thermostat housing is known to crack in these cars. So to get to it, um, it was a little bit of a pain. The shop app. So if you are looking at getting this era car, this type of car, VW in general, they do a whole series of videos on fixing things, maintaining the whole gamut. And that's why I haven't looked at doing any videos on them. I wouldn't be able to do them justice. They do a really good job going through it all, and I don't know as it would be. I wouldn't be able to do it any justice for what they already have out there. Um, so not to take viewers away from myself, but they have a very good product. So with that, so you get the thermostat housing, the water pump, the union pipe, the intake manifold, the water drive belt, and some bolts and the coolant and everything. So that's probably the biggest thing I've had to fix. Um, Again, it wasn't. It was about 2 years ago that I had to do that. Um, it was one of those things that's known to happen on this car. Not necessarily a bad thing, just something to watch out for. Again, with the videos and everything, it wasn't difficult to do. It's just getting to stuff. Most of it wasn't bad. There was, I think, one or two bolts that you kind of had to get to blind and just do it by feel. But with working on any car, that's kind of the case. Um, so that's kind of depending on your background and what you're looking at as far as what you want to tackle in a car. Also can kind of change your perspective on whether it's worth it. And I do all my own maintenance. Don't find it a big deal to do that. So that wasn't an issue.